Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Icetorn. Welcome to a Star Wars thing. So, I've been trying to get an online tabletop RPG off the ground, specifically in the Star Wars universe, for about a month now. Not to mention, well, I did actually spend a few years like contriving it until now, but on the 17th of July, there was a session 0 with 6 people, and 2 weeks later, we removed 2 of them for not showing up to the session, or rather I did. I guess I made the executive decision. So yeah, we started in earnest with 4 of the 6 early in June, and we recorded about 20 or so episodes, or 5 sessions of 4 episodes each. One of them has 3. I'll do the math later, and yeah, we recorded about 20 of them with the party adventuring throughout the galaxy. We would have done more, but last week one of the 4 players informed us that they need to skip the next 8 sessions. So I made another executive decision to restart the game without them. Because I am actually really proud of them, even though, you know, having watched all of them, there's quality stuff that I could have done better, let's just say that. Not to mention that the story kind of picks up and then ends in the middle of nothingness. But yeah, here they are for your enjoyment and feedback. But I may remove them in the future as we restart this with a more stable group. So the name of the game is Star Wars 5E, or SW5E. I'll put a link to the thing, the website, in the video description, so you guys can look at it. It's absolutely free. It's done by a very skilled team of lads, and they're very active in the community. So you can interact. Definitely join their Discord. So yeah, that's what we're running. It's a direct fan-made port of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. So this story starts 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, with 4 unlikely individuals on Tatooine meeting by chance, if chance is a thing with the Force, and they begin to work together for reasons. And the way I have this set up is there's 3 main quest arcs. The Jedi one, the one called the Blacklist, which is for basically, I'll read out what they are later, but it's basically for the non-Force users. And there's a 3rd one, which is to do with a special spaceship station anomaly. I'll read the preambles for those in just a second. I'll put them on the screen. But yeah, I flatter myself that I have close to 100 sessions planned, which is many years of Star Wars. If I can just get a group to run through them. And yeah, from these 3 arcs. There might be rebellion stuff later. We'll see. I will confer with the future party, or rather, I have conferred with this party, but I need 3 more dudes to come play with us. And once that gets off, I will discuss with the entirety of the party whether or not there's going to be rebellion shenanigans, and where we start rewriting basically 4, 5, and 6. Yeah. Let's see. So I'm gonna put. So these are the I'm gonna put these on the screen so you guys can read them for yourselves. But these are basically the 3 quest arcs. Now, when I wrote these, they're very peppered with a lot of purple prose and stuff. When I wrote these were written for 6 players. 2, I call these quest lines destinies. So each destiny is for 2 people to kind of work together and like kind of partner and stuff. However, the reality of running such a game with 6 people and maintaining 6 player schedules, not to mention a total of 7 creative people on one stage is actually not something that I think I can do. So, while the 3 arcs and the 3 quest lines still exist, they are kind of squished together now. But this will give you the gist of what they are, what I am driving at, and what the I guess the expectation is for you, YouTube, as an audience. So, without further ado, for Legacy of the Jedi, the two wayward Force users, downtrodden and skittish remnants of the old guard before the Empire, on a desperate quest to preserve the legacy of the Jedi, and if they can prove that they are lucky enough, perhaps save the lives of a gaggle of adolescents. Brought together through a seemingly unrelated coincidence, both seem to be unlikely confidants of Grandmaster Yoda during the Clone Wars. Now the two ex-Jedi suffer from horrific visions of an end of the Order so absolute it tugs inexorably upon their very beings. Will they weaponize the Force to shield themselves from this horrible burden? Before the weight of this crushing responsibility mutates into a horrific scar upon the Force? Or do they see it through, come what may, and rescue a scattered group of unrealized future Jedi, victims of a future that never came, bound to a fate worse than death? For the Blacklist, a duo of worthy spacers, well-armed and trained, utilizing technology, military tactics, and true grit, following the writ of a shady but incredibly well-sourced anarchist who is perhaps the key to toppling the Empire. As the pair of them undo the secret order of the Eclipse, Chancellor Palpatine's secret backbone of Imperial power, will they install themselves as ushers of a new age of stability, and in the image of the Republic's failed democracy, or will they empower the bitter and downtrodden victims of war to elect their own flawed governments? Will they shoulder the burden of revolution themselves, or defer to the weak, profane alien masses to govern, and likely bring about their own self-destruction? And for the Goddess, last but not least, 2 intrepid scoundrels are made stewards of an ancient ship with a mind of its own, and which is bound to a destination beyond time-space and well beyond the understanding of any 3-dimensional beings. Their quest will require masterful exploration and command of a technology which nobody has seen for 30,000 years, much less used. As they rebuild this ancient space city, they negotiate the vicissitudes of Outer Rim cutthroat economics. The enterprise is not cheap. Fortunately, the Goddess's power is almost boundless. Much must be sacrificed before the ship elects to venture on its way towards its own purpose. Is it worth the work and sacrifice to see it all beam away into a hyperluminal dash into the endless space? Or can this be used to fund a brighter future? After all, it's just a machine. Ooh, wow, one take. It's almost as if I wrote all that shit. I have no more rambling to do. Without further ado, I deliver the players themselves to introduce their characters to you. And following that, you will... I guess I'll upload, like, I don't know, like 2 sessions a week or something, we'll see. But it's all on YouTube. Yeah, please enjoy. Let me know if you have any feedback and stuff, and yeah, don't be shy. Reach out. Thank you.
Ren Yarek is a human male in his mid to late 30s. He's of average height, covered in scars, and has an annoyingly determined countenance. He wears well-worn armor, an old poncho, and is almost always seen carrying an inordinate amount of weaponry. He worked for the Republic during the Clone Wars as a mercenary, taking only the most risky missions possible. After some time, he was put under the direct command of the Jedi Knight Argan Sarbak. And despite the Jedi's reserved attitude and his general distaste for Ren's wildcard tactics, the two became fast friends. Their already very unnatural relationship eventually transforming into a clandestine romance. The two often engage in high-stakes black operations behind enemy lines, without supplies, intelligence, or backup, and would lose themselves for weeks on end in the Republic's counterintelligence apparatus. Late in the war, as Ren was taking up an offensive sniping position atop a hill overlooking an enemy encampment, Ren witnessed the clones suddenly turning on Master Sarbok and mercilessly gunning him down while Ren could only watch from his elevated position. Not a clone himself, Ren was promptly removed from the battalion by the end of the week. As a parting gift, however, Ren sabotaged the battalion's dropship, rigging all of its thrusters to fire at the same time while the bridge was pressurizing for hyperspace, before disembarking for the final time. As the ship blew out in orbit, the wayward thrusters ripped it to shreds, brutally killing everyone on board. Ren then returned to the core worlds. After a few unfulfilling years working dead-end jobs, he took to adventuring, mercenary work, and Outer Rim assassination contracts. He's matured over the years, both personally and as a private military operator, as have his memories of the Clone Wars. He now prefers to take jobs specifically against Imperial operations and focuses less on the payout and more on the results.
Nuata Latour's earliest memories are of her life in the Jedi Temple. The only things she knew about her young life were that she was born on Vekacopia 12 years before the Clone Wars began, and her parents left her to the foster system where the Jedi discovered her. She was taken to the temple and raised by her soon-to-be master Le Shafir, a Togruta who served the Order as a peacekeeper working with the temple security force. Instilled with the virtues of the Jedi from a young age, Nuata would become a proud defender of the temple district, following her master dutifully. Despite this, Nuata would often struggle with keeping her emotions in check and, contrary to Jedi teachings, would come to love her master, viewing her as her mother. She would keep this fact secret from everyone, including her own mentor. When the Clone Wars began, both her and her master were pressed into service in the Grand Army of the Republic. As a Jedi, she had reservations about going to war, but her master reassured her that the war was necessary to restore galactic peace. Before long, her master was exiled from the Order due to poor conduct on the battlefield, and Nuata was left to lead the battalion by herself. Then she was sent to fight in the Battle of Christophsis. On Christophsis, she experienced the horrors of war, and she saw the methods the Separatists employed, loathed them, and wanted to see them destroyed and their leaders brought to justice, no matter the cost. Throughout the Clone Wars, she earned the reputation of a ruthless general, and was close to exile herself. When, during the Battle of Euphornis Minor, Order 66 was enacted. Nuata managed to escape from the clones and ran off into the night. She took a shot to the shoulder while trying to send word off-world and fell into a gorge. Clawing herself to the shore, Nuata decided she was unwilling to sit around and die. She decided to take her chances and stumbled her way to the nearby town. She snuck on board an outbound ship and vanished into the stars. Try as she might, she couldn't find her master and assumed she was dead. Her life took a turn for the worst, and she became an intergalactic vagrant. The hardships of the Outer Rim, hatred by the galaxy, and the loss of her old life damaged her deeply. She would stow away to a new planet, work for a few months, spend what little money she made on liquor, and, once she'd made too much noise, would flee and repeat the cycle. She drank to forget what she lost, but she never truly could. On Osis, her old life finally caught up with her. Faced with certain death, she turned back to the light. Her first order of business was to reconnect herself to the fate of the Jedi. So it came to pass that she ventured to the seedy underbelly of Nar Shaddaa, where she met a gifted young orphan and, guided by their conjoined fate, the two would travel to Ilum and meet Master Salazar, who would guide them on their destiny.
Milo is a small but striking figure with a large, expressive light brown eyes and a messy mop of hair. He wears a poncho at all times, which is oversized and ill-fitting. It conceals his dark fiber armor with blue accents, which unlike the poncho is excellent fit. He wears sturdy but well-worn boots. Milo grew up on a peaceful planet, Ardanian, in a modest but loving family. He was always a practiced gearhead. From an early age he disassembled and often successfully reassembled various technology items about the farm. One day, out of nowhere, a reborn Khan crashed not far from Milo's homestead. The ship was almost irreparably destroyed after an encounter with a hunter-killer droid. The Insecta Kubas was also quite injured and had trouble healing in the sunlight, and while he recovered, the polite Ardanians took to fix the ship. Milo was enchanted with the ship and its technology and dedicated almost every waking second to the study of its systems. He also took to interacting while the lonely man in the solitude of his recovery. and was thrilled by his many stories of the war, especially those about his former allies, the Jedi. When it was ready for Khan to leave, Milo did not hesitate for a moment, left his quick goodbyes to his families and snuck aboard. Khan was initially resistant to allow the inexperienced alien to accompany him when Milo was eventually found. And while he did seem to value the Andarian's companion, Milo felt he was more tolerant merely because of the ability to see in the dark. One day, they assaulted a hidden Imperial storage station in outer space that supposedly contained great ships. However, another stealth ship was docked there at the time, and as Milo hacked the airlock door, they were met by a barrage of fire. The bounty hunter was in the airlock when this happened, and rushed inside the station to find cover, when a stray Imperial shot hit the inside of the airlock and caused the ship to suddenly depressure. In this terror, Milo was at the cockpit, instinctively engaged the emergency decoupling protocols, and speed away under heavy fire from the hidden perimeter guns. The entire ship depressured and almost exploded as Milo flew away towards certain death. A few days later, having spent all of his money to rearm the ship, Milo returned to rescue his friend, but the entire station had vanished. No doubt moved just a few hundred kilometers away in a random direction. Milo searched in vain, but could not find his friend, and has since taken to travel alone.